for Educational Critical Review and Reaction is Jordan Maxwell.
I have come and got myself involved in researching what I consider to be the darkest subject I've ever come across. And that is the actual and fact connections between Judaism, Nazism, Christianity, and communism. All of them are connected behind the scenes to a very, very ancient and powerful secret society that is running all 4 or 5 paths at one time. Both communism and Nazism are working together. They always have. They're part of an organization. One organization runs the Nazi Party and the Communist Party. That same group that run those 2 parties are also behind Judaism and Christianity. And that is an incredible, mind-blowing experience when you finally see it. It's an extraordinary story of the importance of the Egyptian world on the modern day mankind. Egypt has done something on the earth, and we humans, I believe that we humans, in our zeal to dig up old artifacts and do our hunting of old and ancient religions, I think we have made a mistake. I think the human family has made a mistake, and we have opened up a portal in Egypt to something very, very, very dark. Hollywood has been telling you in movies they've been making about the curse of the pharaohs, the pharaoh's curse, the curse of the pyramids, and all those kind of things where, you know, humans today were opening up portals in ancient Egypt that were not supposed to ever be opened. I think that we opened up a portal where we were working with the Philadelphia experiment. And I remember that the man, one of the main scientists in the Philadelphia experiment, he committed suicide. And he left a note. This was a long time ago. I'm remembering a long time ago my research. Dr. Jessup, I think his name was Philip K. Jessup, but I'm not sure about his first name. But anyway, his last name was Jessup. And he was one of the scientists and the physicists that worked with Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, and Oppenheimer on the Philadelphia experiment. And he committed suicide later because he in his note, if I'm remembering this correctly, in one of his suicide note, he said that he could not live with himself knowing what he has done and opening up the world of mankind to the dark side in the universe, because they did something in that international research of the Philadelphia experiment. They did something that opened up a portal into the demonic world that was out there that could not come into us. That demonic world, that particular world, was not able to come into the human family. There was a line drawn by somebody very powerful, like God, for instance. This goes all the way back into ancient Egypt, into the ancient Egyptian world. That the gods that were involved in ancient Egypt, some of them were the most incredibly evil and powerful dark forces in the universe. But during the 30s, the late 30s, 38, 39, 40, and 41, 1930s to 41, there was an experiment done that the U.S. Navy today still says never happened, but it did, and everybody was on ship talks about it. It was called the Philadelphia Experiment. They even made two movies on that subject. Hollywood made two movies called Philadelphia Experiment and Philadelphia Experiment Part 2. Dr. Jessup, who was one of the main physicists working on that, also committed suicide and said he could not live with himself for knowing what he has done. He inadvertently realized that inadvertently he had opened up a connection between the human society on the earth and the extraterrestrial society of the ancient Egyptians. And whatever it was that experiment did, it opened up a connection between us and the darkest powers of the universe. And the Egyptians said that they put curses on the tombs and the pyramids, and nobody was supposed to touch those tombs ever. Why? Because the Egyptians basically said, because if you open up these tombs, you're going to open yourself up to something you don't want to know. You don't want to know what you're going to mess with if you open these tombs up. You're going to open yourself up to something very, very evil. And it's not going to be to just you, it's going to be to the whole human family. So you're the one that opened it up to the whole human family. Well, that's what Lord Carnarvon did when he went into Egypt and financed the finding of King Tutankhamun's tomb and had it opened up according to the scriptures and according to the ancient scriptures and the Egyptian. You were not supposed to do that. And when he did that, he opened up some kind of a connection with the human family to the demonic out there. And that's what I think is happening with the earth today. We're now being really hurted. We're really being a tsunami of demonic activity coming into the human family to destroy us because we've opened up some kind of a connection to the other world. And for whatever it is, we don't want to know. It's too late. We've already done it. And that's what I think is happening. All of the biggest institutions on the earth, all of mankind's institutions of government, military, military industrial complex, banking, insurance companies, human trafficking, the sexual rituals going on with what's his name, Epstein and the Vatican and all this stuff. It's all connected behind the scenes to something that happened during the 30s, the late 30s and the early 40s, 1930s and 1940s, when the United States sent the best minds they had to do something with an experiment called the Philadelphia Experiment. And I know that I was in Pasadena many years ago with Colonel Tom Bearden, my dear friend Colonel Tom Bearden, who was probably a physicist. He was the man in the U.S. government that was in my opinion, nobody came near him when talk about science. This guy was science. And his title was Colonel Tom Bearden. He's still out there on the web today. You go and listen to this guy, and you got to know this guy knows stuff that he's never told anybody. Between the Nazis and the extraterrestrial and the ancient Egyptians, and opening up portals because the Nazis had knowledge about technology that we couldn't even begin to follow. They were building flying saucers and atomic bombs and all kinds of stuff. When we were in America, supposedly the smartest on the planet, we couldn't even figure out what they were doing. They were so far ahead of us. And I think the only thing that the reason why Hitler was defeated is because a higher force in the universe realized that we stupid humans have opened up a portal to something we don't realize how evil it is. And maybe that force stepped in and to save the human family for the moment, and were able to overthrow the connection with Adolf Hitler and the secret societies that he was a part of that were probably helping to open up this portal for us, because the U.S. took a lot of Nazi technology and wisdom and understanding, and we brought it to America and made a company out of it and called it NASA. Today, NASA is nothing more than a secret society of high-level aristocrats around the world who are dealing with other world knowledge out there and connecting themselves to dark forces out there, and we call it NASA. No, NASA is a purely Knights of Malta Nazi organization made up of the old school Nazis back in the good old days when Hitler was running Europe. That's who's running NASA today. People like Peter Levenda and Joseph Farrell are two of the best minds on the planet today. Two of the best intellectual minds on the planet today. Listen to Peter Levenda on YouTube. Levenda. Levenda. Peter Levenda. He will blow your mind when he talks about the occult world of the Nazis and what they were actually, in fact, doing that you never even heard anything about. They were involved in dark stuff that you can't even begin to wrap your mind around. And he ties in J. Edgar Hoover of the FBI with that group. J. Edgar Hoover, head of the FBI. If you think they're crooked today, you should have seen what J. Edgar Hoover was into with the world Nazi movement, the world communist movement. You have no idea in the world how corrupt the FBI was back then. I know a lot of FBI guys who are good guys that work hard, they're good fellows. I don't have any problem with them, but I'm telling you, the organization of FBI was involved in some dark stuff as far back as J. Edgar Hoover days. That's why he was so powerful in American politics. Nobody was ever found guilty and went to jail to pay for the murdering of an American president in front of the whole world in public. Keep that in mind. Nobody went to prison. Nobody was found guilty. He talked about a secret society that is so powerful it wants to control and dominate the whole world. And he said, before I leave this lofty office, I intend to expose this secret society. Well, they intended that he should shut up, so they blew his brains out. And so I'm telling you the same thing. KGB is operating in America. Nazi secret societies operating in America. The Nazi Party is out of Europe now and is in South America. The Center for Nazism, according to the best minds we have working on the subject, the Nazi Party is more powerful than it's ever been before. It's totally in control of its operation. It knows what it's doing. It knows where it's going, and is highly financed and extraordinarily well connected behind the scenes with NASA, with the White House, and with what's going on in the world today. It's an extraordinary story that's very frightening. When I'm going to do something on this, I want to do something and put this onto a video so people can actually see with their own eyes the connection of the symbols, the words, the terms, the money, where it came from, who is in charge today in America, what's going on with the United States government in relation to world Nazism, world communism, and world religions, and the connection behind the scenes between Judaism and Adolf Hitler. A big story you will not believe when you hear it. That's why it's been able to operate with nobody bothering it, because most people do not have brains enough to wrap their minds around the idea that Judaism is part of the Nazi plot against the world. Period. It's an extraordinary, dark subject. When you find out where the money is coming from, trace the money. Something is going on here on a worldwide scale. It is so awesome and so unbelievable that you will never be able to find out, because you would never believe that such a thing could actually be happening on the earth today. And the poor people in Israel that have no idea in the world what's going on, the Jewish people living in Israel, I have no problem with. But I'm telling you that the Jewish people living in Israel today do not even begin to suspect what's actually going on in the state of Israel today. The Jewish Wailing Wall, which reminds me of the wailing going on in Wall Street,